The smarter you are, the more likely you are to overthink during your cornhole game. Let's talk about why that happens and what we can do about it. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Michelle Thompson, aka Cornhole Mish. I am a cornhole commentator, sideline reporter, and I've been helping people get out of their heads and into their bodies for peak performance for over 15 years. So, for my overthinkers, by the way, I'm one of them, I totally get it. You are not going to be an overthinker and not also be a control freak. I know you want to control every part of the game. I know some part of you thinks you can control every part of the game. If I just grip it, stand just right, place everything, release in the right way, have the right speed, have the right breathing. We think if we do check all the boxes, we will be consistent down the middle in the hole and have a perfect game or near to perfect game or throw our ceiling. It does not work that way. We cannot consciously control everything that happens as much as we may want to. It gives us a false sense of security when we feel like we understand why everything's happening and we can control everything that's happening. But what we actually have to learn is how to trust our training. And it's the hardest thing for my analytical mind people, and I'm one of them. See, when we're in the middle of a game, the last place we want to be is in our minds. And we don't want to be analyzing everything. I was going to say analysis paralysis. I was saying it all at once. We don't want to do that. We actually want to be the complete opposite. So if this is unfamiliar to you, this is going to be a massive challenge. If you're an overthinker, you probably spend a good amount of your time in the mental part of your world. You probably use it for your job, you probably succeed really well in that space. And so it does not make logical sense why you cannot go there in this game that you love and perform at your very best. Trusting your training requires you to get out of your head and into your body. It requires you to let go of control, let go of the outcome, and completely surrender to the moment and trust that it's going to go well. I know that sounds so difficult. It is one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn in my life, and I've had to learn it over and over and over because even though I was being hit upside the head with lessons to learn it, I was ignoring all of them. Subtlety was not my thing. So if you are that person, I completely understand. But we cannot operate consistently at our ceilings playing our best with this mentality. Save that for when you're practicing at home and figuring out shots because you kind of need two types of practice. You need the type of practice where maybe you are working on a new strategy, a new shot, and you're in the learning phase and you're kind of figuring something out, and this is when you get to be in your analytical mind. So if you are someone that needs that, then have those strategic practice routines where you just hit the boards and try to figure something out, right? Like, ooh, okay, what if I put the bags like this and try to do that? Use that part of you because it needs to have, the itch scratched or whatever. Then you need practice where you're just repping and you're in complete rhythm and routine and automation. Now, that is what you're going to use when you actually perform. And if you don't have that, then you won't have a lot of confidence in trusting your training, right? Because if your practice is all you try to figure out crazy shots or working on different grips and stances and different things, which I know is fun for you, then that is not going to be a good foundation for your performance. So you do need both, and or you don't only need you can just rep, like if you're not the person that likes to do all the strategic stuff. But I know a lot of my players, especially my younger players, like to have a lot of fun with different stuff on the boards and use that time wisely at home and then rep it as much as possible once you've gotten out of learning stage and into automation so that you can trust that automation when you step onto the boards. And the shift that has to happen in your body is I don't control anything. I don't control the outcome. All I can do is trust the time I put in before this moment, before me standing here, is enough for me to play my best. And that is the key. It's not to win because we don't control that. We can't control our opponents. We can't control what happens, bags, boards, all that stuff. Only thing you can say is that I've done enough before this moment to completely let go and surrender to the moment and allow whatever's going to happen. And I trust that it will go my very best, whatever your best is. And by the way, that best is going to be different if you didn't get a lot of sleep, if you didn't eat, if you feel tired for sluggish, or all those factors. So when I talk about playing our very best, we need to be realistic as to all the things we've done preparation wise to that moment, and be kind of gracious with ourselves that if everything's not ideal preparing us for this moment, that it might not be our best, but it's our best for that moment. In yoga, they talk all the time. One day you might be able to touch your toes, the next day you can't. One day you can balance on one leg, the next day you can't. That is just life. And there's so many things that go into it. So when we talk about consistency and overthinking, what we want to talk about is, am I consistent in my very best in that moment of what I'm actually capable of? Not what I would like to be, not what would be, fantastic. I'd love to throw a perfect game. No, but what's realistic for that moment for you? And how is what's happening in that moment creating all of that garbage in our head, that overthinking? Because we're not being honest with ourselves, because we're not tapping into the moment of where we're at right now, because we didn't put enough preparation or time in prior to. And that's okay. It's just not time to think about it while you're playing. It's like oh, interesting. I'll do that for next time. For now, I'm just going to be in the moment and do the best I can to my ability at this moment. So, I know you're smart. I know your brain's gotten you far. I know that you've used that thinking part of you to get to a certain point in your cornhole game, but it's time to switch to automation. It's time to switch to trust, and it's time to put the time in before the tournaments, before the moments, to lead you to success so that you can fully surrender and let go and be in the moment. Now, because you like to analyze and you like to think, we can find a time for you to use that in terms of what happened in that game, but it needs to happen after that game. So in the moment, I want you to have kind of a plan in place that when you go into overthinking and when you start analyzing everything, did I, flip my palm enough? Did I release high enough? Instead of going into all of that, you're going to have a little conversation with your brain. You're going to have to play with it a little bit. You're going to say, hey, I know you really want to analyze everything that just occurred, especially because we missed to the left or right. I know. However, or we can do that, but not right now. So as soon as this game is over, assuming I don't go right into a game, I promise you, brain, we will sit down and we will look through everything that just occurred and we will find anything that needs to be changed. But it will not happen right now because that is not how I will perform my best in this moment. Now is not the time to break down mechanics. Now is not the time to analyze everything we're doing. That needs to be a post-tournament, I'll say post-match, but ideally post-tournament moment. So ideally what you could do, if this is really if you're not able to let it go in the moment, you would say, pause. I promise I'll get to this as soon as this match is over. Then get a pen and paper or your notes app, write down everything you need to write and say, I'm not going to get into the details right now. I'm just going to, everything I think needs to be addressed is going to be jotted down. Sorry, brain, we're not doing it now. But look, I wrote it all down for you. It's all here. I promise we'll get to it. And then when you get home or next day, you can review your notes and get into that analyzing that you love so much. But you have to make a pact with yourself that will not happen in the game, and preferably not in the tournament. Preferably that happens after. This is time for execution. This is body time, not brain time. This is time where you go, I can't deal with that right now. All I can do is try to be in my body in this moment and do the best I can right now. And if you can make that switch and you can kind of play around with that dialogue with your brain and say, not now, because if we just say stop doing that, it's just going to be annoying and we're not going to stop, because that is some part of us that has to happen. So we don't say no, we just say not right now. Not right now, but we can get to it later. I suspect what will happen is that as you start to drop into your body more and become more present and not allow that analysis to happen, you'll start to play better. And you'll need to do that less and less and less, because you'll start to realize that it doesn't really require that much analysis. Only when you see patterns, like, oh, this situation happens every single time. Every time the boards are slick, XYZ happens. So I need to go to my practice stuff at home and figure out how to handle slick boards, right? That is data you can take in, you notice patterns, and then you do something to address that pattern. But that is probably going to be fairly rare. Most things you're going to be able to let go of the minute you realize that dropping in, becoming present, locking into the flow state or the play state fixes everything, and you don't need to tear apart every bit of your mechanics, because your mechanics don't have to be perfect to be successful. So give that a try. Hopefully, this was helpful for my overthinkers, so please subscribe for more content. And my question to you in the comments is, how does overthinking show up in your cornhole game or in your life? Where is this overthinking happening? Because it is going to be so crucial to understand this in order for you to get in your body. And of course, you can always grab my $9 mental reset kit to help you reset your body and go into your body out of your mind and have more success on the courts.